Why is the Infinite Life Sutra devotional, and what does that mean? And that's the question that I kind of want to answer now, today. I realised after the other videos that I've been kind of throwing these terms around and just assuming that you guys would know what this meant. So when I say that the Infinite Life Sutra in both the Sanskrit and in the Chinese translations is devotional, what does that mean? All right, so when we're saying something's devotional in terms of religious texts, it's really a contrastive type of word. And what I mean when I say this text is devotional is that it emphasizes faith, or in Sanskrit, shraddha. It emphasizes kind of emotional reliance, maybe, if you want to call it that, and the aspiration for salvation, right? But what it doesn't do, and this is the big difference, especially when you've seen me talk about some of the early Buddhist texts, when you've seen me talk about people like Nagarjuna, Vasubandhu, Dharmakirti, these sorts of people, it doesn't involve philosophical argument, doesn't really involve any like meditative instruction, things like that. And it certainly doesn't involve much scholastic analysis. And most of the Pure Land Sutras, as I understand it, sort of belong to this devotional genre rather than philosophical, meditative, scholastic genres. All right. So there's a lot going on. And the basis of it is that the aim of the sutra is to, clue in the name, facilitate devotion to the Buddhist path, specifically to Amitabha. Okay. And what are the reasons for this? Well, we've now got a state of affairs where we've got an entity or a being that can intercede on our behalf. So a lot of people will say that Buddhism doesn't have a savior. And if we look purely at the early Buddhist texts, Buddhism doesn't have a savior insofar as it doesn't have a being, not even the Buddha, who intervenes on your behalf. Okay, the Buddha doesn't bestow you with grace. He says, here's a method to free yourself from all this shite. It's worked for me, it can work for you. We see a shift with the Mahayana literature, some Mahayana literature, and now we have Bodhisattvas and Mahasattvas who can intervene directly. So we start to see this in the Infinite Life Sutra. We have Amitabha who can transfer his own merit to us. Yeah, so he's generated all this good karma and he can just give it to us. He can provide karmic conditions that we can't generate on our own. There's talk of him delivering beings to liberation. Now that's a really crucial phrase, because there's a difference now between telling you how you can reach liberation and actually taking you there himself. All right? And this guaranteed rebirth in Sukhavati, the Pure Land, is effectively him taking you to liberation. Okay? It is intercession. It's not the same as divine grace, but it is a form of grace. A lot of scholars are reluctant to make that comparison. I am not. So what we have, why is it grace? Well, we have this alien power. I don't mean alien like there's a little green man coming walking along, you know what I mean? I mean, it's outside of you. It's outside of your normal understanding of the world. It's something totally alien, something totally new. Liberation comes from Amitabha's power, not from our own. Okay? And he does this by the merit transfer, by the power of his vows. And he makes this salvation really accessible. So one huge difference we see in the Infinite Life Sutra and Pure Land text like it is that instead of you having to be a sort of morally good person, I've said before that Buddhists don't really talk about good behaviour, they talk about skillful behaviour, where skillful behaviour is more likely to bring about a beneficial state of affairs, and unskillful behaviour will bring about a non-beneficial state of affairs. We see a shift here now, because your moral fibre and your actions don't really matter. If you have faith in Amitabha, even spiritually weak beings can be saved by the actions of Amitabha. Okay? So it does function as grace. It's not divine. It's still karmic, And there's no suspension of causality. Like it still ticks over in the karmic worldview, but it is nevertheless there. And this is probably the big genre difference between early Buddhist texts, things that we see in the Pali, things that we see in the Theravada, things that we see in all these early schools, the earliest types of schools, and then the Mahayana literature, kind of 1st century CE onwards. So I wanted to point that out. It's devotional because it does all these things. It's less focused on philosophical argumentation, less focused on meditation, less focused on scholastic analysis or doxographical categorizations, and it is entirely focused on your faith in Amitabha and his vows and his methods, the emotional reliance on Amitabha and his methods, the aspirational longing for salvation from Amitabha and his methods. And then we have all this other stuff smuggled in with it, where we start to see a saviour for all intents and purposes.